Thurber, Katie Aiken, Nicole Whelan. Online, you have Todd Wilkins, Jeff Leake, and Scott McEnany. And on our agenda, the first item is public comments. If anybody here with comments?
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Heather Bullock, and I don't know if you remember me. I came before the board in March. In February, I'd sent a letter to the board. First of all, I'm a volunteer coordinator at the Bromley Outing Club for the Just Ski and Snowboard program. At that time, when I sent the letter in February, I had been working with Laura Boudreau since 2023 regarding getting a bus for just transportation. When I met with the board in March, they seemed hopeful that we could make this work, and Laura was optimistic again and referred me to Melissa Senecal and Giselle Gayette. And so I've been working with both of them, and they just sent me an email last week saying, no, we can't help you. That there's no money in the budget for just transportation. And our deadline is November 1st. So one thing I should tell you is I looked back at the meeting I was at in March, and I didn't give you all the numbers of the SVSU kids. I was just thinking Bennell, Molly Stark, Monument, and middle school. So I think I said like 30 or 40, but actually we have 49 at Shaftesbury, 15 at Pownell. So our numbers for this program are pretty significant, but they're going down because the children that are from families that have two working parents or financially are not in a position to go, it's because of transportation. That's the only reason. If they need a scholarship, we will cover them. That's not a problem. The only thing that's lacking is a bus from the SVSU. And right now, the SVSU is the only public school in the entire state of Vermont that does not provide a bus for GISP. The only ones. Arlington does, all of the northern schools do. We're the only ones. And there's a lot of kids that are going to be continuing to not be able to take part in the program because of that. I used to be able to, talk parents into cramming 6 kids in a car. I still, even with that, even with the really wonderful parents that do volunteer, there's just not enough of them. And so I'm back before the board, kind of miffed at what happened as to why we don't have transportation yet. I originally came to the SVSU about 10 or 15 years ago asking for this and was told no then. Started working with Laura in 2023 and she seemed really optimistic. She said the Century 21 grant would have transportation funding in it. And then she was going to let me know if she got the grant in 2024, I believe it was. She said she did get it, but then they didn't have a coordinator in time. So we kind of got dangled along for the next year. And here we are again. And now they're saying that they don't have the money for transportation for this.
I don't know what the status is of the 21st Century Grant. Was that awarded?
It was awarded.
Okay.
2 years ago, I think. Or at least, well, probably a year and a half ago.
We're in year 2.
Year 2.
But
So
the,
a year and
the
a half ago.
funding was in question at the federal level. It was taken away.
Yeah.
And then given back. The future is still in question.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not sure what to do.
Is there a half day on the calendar for those schools?
There have been, one of the reasons why we changed all of our programming from Tuesday to Wednesday is because when the merger took place with Arlington, I know Arlington was really wanting to keep just on Wednesdays. So the SVSU went to doing their in-services on just Wednesdays.
The school calendar for this year, as it was published, does not have half days on it for any of the schools in the SVSU.
Right.
Arlington voted locally to have half days on Wednesdays so that students can participate in GIST, but I don't believe that the rest of the schools, unless they've made a decision locally within their board, there are not half days. So I don't know what the participation is going to be.
So even prior to that, this program's been going on for, well, 70 years, actually. I've been volunteering for 20 years. And it was only since you merged with Arlington that the half days were available. Students were still joining this program even when there was not half days.
Half day option.
In fact, we had more. So I'm not quite sure what to do. I don't want to take just away from the SVSU because a lot of the kids that go, I mean, they really love the program and they
Sure.
email me all the time, my kid can't go unless there's a bus. So, I'm coming to you, hat in hand.
Okay. I mean, as far as action tonight, we can't take
Right,
any.
right.
Scott is the board chair. He is online. I don't know the back story to know what was originally thought to be there and what has changed and what funding is not there. But
And we can come back with, I've already asked, but for a cost for the bus. You are right. I mean, when I was at the middle school, we had middle schoolers participate in GISP. We did not have half days to support that. Parents and families just made arrangements and kids participated in that.
Right.
It's only in the most recent, I would say in the last 4 or 5 years that we lined up and had half days every Wednesday. So that was relatively new. And that has now in the calendar that was submitted by the previous superintendent, those are not available to us this year. Arlington will continue. But I am aware of the situation. We did ask for a cost out on the bus. I will tell you the first estimate back, I think was low. I think may not have been clear in what I was asking for, maybe a daily run or a monthly run, but just to be clear, the program runs January, February, and March.
It does, 9 weeks,
9 weeks. That's helpful.
closed on any snow day where they don't feel the weather is appropriate,
and school vacations.
and school vacations.
Is it an expectation that parents would collect students from the mountain after? It's not an expectation that a bus takes them up and takes them back.
So it would be what we would hope for. In fact, parents have even offered, to say, we can get our kids from Ben El over to the middle school or Molly Stark to the middle school. That maybe the kids could, have parents bring them to the middle school, the bus take them up there for their lessons, leave around 11:35 or so. And then the bus would stay there until about 4:15. The kids would come back, go back to the middle school, and parents would pick them up there.
Understood. It's just, that's a considerable ask because those buses would be taken, they wouldn't be available for athletics. And so I just want to be really clear with folks. I can, but I will absolutely come back to the board with a cost of what that commitment would be.
Thank you. Like I said, our deadline is November 1st, and I'm getting emails from parents saying, I don't want to miss the deadline, but what's going on with transportation?
Good.
So is there,
This board, will meet one more time for, no,
No,
it will
No.
not. So, but what I can at least do, respond to the chair's request for information and share what the cost would be.
sure, and who would my contact be to,
You can continue to reach out to my office. I will be very clear. I'm not going to be out of the office the rest of the week, but my assistant is Amy Goslin. So when you call in, you can say, I'd like to talk to Ms. Goslin and she will share the information. Absolutely.
that sounds good. Actually, do you think I could write down the phone number to your office, or is it? just
Absolutely.
The. or
Think you have a
SVSU?
pen by any chance?
Sorry about that.
I have one. I have
Oh, you have one. Thank you.
802
Mhm.
447 7501.
7501 and Amy Goslin. Thank you so much.
okay.
We appreciate you coming out.
Oops, excuse me.
Thanks. We have operations as the next item on the agenda.
No report from operations.
Okay, moving on to finance. There is a treasurer's report that was posted. And a budget building overview.
We're gonna keep this really short. For those of you online, I will make this available to you electronically. As part of my entry into superintendency, I get to get all kinds of tutorials, one of which is my relearning every year with Renee of how,
Can you share my screen?
yes, please,
Okay.
how the school board creates a budget and how it has a very little attachment to your property taxes, but it takes a winding road. So I want to thank Renee and Katie West for creating this visual for you. This is what I'm going to carry into the community. I am scheduled to meet at the Rotary and at the Select Board going forward. I want to share this with folks. There's a couple of little sidebars, but we'll go through it really quickly. Step one, local school board creates a budget. Community votes on that budget. If the budget passes, the school board sends that bill to the state of Vermont. By law, they are required to pay that out of the state's education fund. That's a pretty straightforward process. I think one of the misconceptions is in the community is that if we approve a budget, all that money comes back to us. And it's not that simple exchange. I want to be really clear about that. What happens is that the state collects bills from districts across the state and then has to determine an amount of money that will cover those expenses. That is called educational spending. Educational spending is then divided by each school district's number of students. Not all students are equal in the eyes of the accountants. There are weights attached to them. It can be for students learning English, students who live in who are considered living in poverty, students who live in a rural setting. All those would add weights to them and would impact spending. So total amount of the bill divided first by your district's number of students per their weights. That number is then divided by what is called the homestead property yield. That is not determined by us. That is determined by the legislature, and that is determined in the year 2026. So we will be considering a budget. We will be voting on a budget early in 2026, and in many years, the legislature will determine that portion of the equation after we've participated in our democratic process. You then take that number and you divide it yet again by the statewide adjusted common level of appraisal to get your actual property educational tax rate. That is why it is possible for me as a resident of Pownell to pay a different rate than my friend from Woodford or folks living in Bennington or Shaftesbury or Arlington. And that may often cause confusion in the community because what they did is they originally voted on the bill that a school board may have created, and we told them publicly it's going to go up 3%, but then their taxes may exceed that. And that again is because we vote on a bill, we send it north. Montpelier needs to raise money to cover all the budgets passed across the state, and then begins a series of division. And for those of you who like to do math, on the backside of that, we walk you through the formula. You remember that all the variables are plugged in there. It even has a helpful example of per the house value of $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. So you could kind of see where the range of your property is. And if you need to follow along like I do, there's a term description below what A equals, what B equals C. I'm having a little bit of traumatic flashback to my high school math career. But the reason I share this with you is that, again, in the community as board members, I'm sure you've been stopped and you've gotten feedback about this process and folks frustrated with the fact that, well, wait a minute, I watched the school board meetings. You agreed to this percentage, but my taxes keep going up by this. And so I encourage you to take a look at that, and I'm going to stop talking if folks have questions. But a couple of things we added in here just for folks to know, other factors to consider. Last year, the governor proposed buying down property taxes. So he took money and put it into that pile, which offset our taxes. Our taxes did not go as high. Folks appreciate that. It's a politically popular choice. Renee and I have sat in the business officers meeting this year. We heard from an elected official who does not speak for the governor, but who has been part of this participation, believes that they will once again buy down the tax rate again this year. There is a cautionary tale attached to that. when they take money from other pots of money and put it into the hedge funds, eventually that will have to be paid for. And you're gambling, not gambling, let's not say that in front of the politicians, but you are hoping that the future continues to have the income that you have as a state. And we did put that note there. The state's education fund includes sales tax, purchase and use taxes, meals, room taxes, the lottery, and other miscellaneous funding sources. So I'm sure all of you in the room know that these can be impacted. If the economy slows down, people don't visit Vermont as much, or Canadians don't feel so inclined to travel south, things like that. That could ultimately diminish the amount of money going into the ed fund, which then again puts pressure on raising taxes. The other thing, of course, is Act 73. This is the current way we fund schools. This could change if the legislature decides in the future to change the way they fund, including to talk about formula, which, you know, would set an amount. Of course, that would have weights attached to it as well. But we've had members in this board point out, we wouldn't be voting on that budget.
Right.
That would be a state determination of how much funds you get per student. And again, nothing is agreed upon. The legislature has to get through maps first to determine tax districts, to then talk about formula. But I hope, I'll stop talking, but I hope to use this frequently in the community to show you do your work on this side. You come up with a good budget, we agree upon, you guys vote on it, you send it out to the voters attach, but then it goes through many different math calculations to get back to us as far as what you will pay on your property tax. So hopefully that's helpful, but if there's any questions, Renee is here. I will try my best. I've been studying hard. I still don't know all the letters on the back of the formula, but
Anyone have questions? We've spent a lot of time explaining this to our community in Arlington for the past, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years.
and I think people are just tired. Like, it's so confusing, as Renee explained it to me.
Yeah.
Go through the math. There are several numbers in there that are determined by outside forces.
Yep.
And in some ways they cancel each other out, which frustrates people even more so.
Yep.
And then you come back to, if you live in a community whose grand list has been updated lately, you pay higher, whereas folks who haven't, you know, so I think
There's a lot of factors.
there's unease, there's not transparency, so I can understand why people could be frustrated, but we won't spend a whole lot of time. I'm giving this to the board today because in November, the SU board, this board, will start its discussion in earnest, and then in December and January, the elementary school board, the art board, MAU we will be talking about budgets that will dominate our meetings. So I thought this might be a helpful primer for people to go out. And please feel free, if you go home and you're like, this is unclear to me, or if we missed something in the math, I'd love to hear back for that. We can correct it in real time and share that information with folks.
I'm just wondering too, I know that Bennington County has issued at least for the town of Bennington, has issued a kind of like across the board property assessment that's going to be taking place over the next few years, which
A reappraisal.
a reappraisal, which has the potential to raise a lot of people's property values. So that's probably going to also be on the minds of a lot of
Sure.
voters this year because they're already worried. You know, if someone, just looking at this, if someone's in that $100,000 range, after this reappraisal, a lot of houses I could foresee getting bumped up.
Conversely, having been a former lister, I will tell you that should those values fall below 80%, it triggers an automatic townwide reappraisal, and that does not help our cause map, etc.
Thank you, Mr. Payne.
Sure.
Before we move on from finance, we do need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion a second, any discussion? It is in the folder. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Moving on, we have our consent agenda, which is minutes, warrants, retirements, leaves of absence, resignations, and nominations. There was a, 4 resignations and then 7 nominations for positions. The minutes were posted. Would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was presented.
So moved.
Motion Todd,
I'll second.
second by Katie. Any discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then we have 2 policies to be adopted. 3100 alcohol and drug-free workplace. 5175 possession, sale, and distribution of illegal substances.
I'll make the motion to adopt 4100 and 5175.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on those 2 policies? They have been warned. They came around, it looks like in March. If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Superintendent's report. Mr. Pinckney.
Okay, I have 2 things. One, for an action requested on, the interim assistant superintendent update. I have been in contact with, the chair. We have completed the screening process. I want to thank Nick Galt, who is here this evening, for guiding us on that. We have a number of applicants. The screening committee met, selected folks for interviews. A number of board members sat in those interviews, forwarded 2 finalists for me to sit and interview. Nick Galt and I did that. And from that process, my recommendation is for Beth Lorge, who is current principal at Pownell, to serve as interim assistant superintendent for the duration of this school year. She has experience as an elementary principal. She's been at Pownell for 4 years, I believe. Before that, she was a middle school principal in Texas with an enrollment of 1,100 kids, a pretty urban and diverse middle school population. She taught middle school classes before. She was a middle school teacher before that. She is a graduate among places at Williams College. She is also born and raised in North Adams and is a proud graduate of Drury High School. I was impressed by the process. I appreciate the time that the committee put into interviewing. I thought we enjoyed having a pretty good selection of candidates to talk to. I think Beth will be a good match for the team. I think she knows us, and I'm especially impressed with her looking at systems and asking good questions. I think she'll be a good partner for the remainder of the school year, and she is excited about the opportunity. So I appreciate her considering the challenge. So we are working on a transition plan with the board's approval, and also making sure that there is no disruption in service at Pownell Elementary. So I come before this board for an motion to support moving forward with Beth as interim assistant superintendent.
Do we have a motion?
So motion.
Todd will make the motion. Jeff, are you a second?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? Just in looking at the nomination form, just so that this is on record, Beth also has her master's in educational leadership, and she's currently working on a PhD in educational leadership and policy studies. So she's got quite a background.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do we know yet? Has there been talk of the plan on how to cause the least amount of disruption to Pownell?
We're in preliminary discussions. I didn't want to jump too far ahead of the board.
A generic comment is that she has a very strong associate principal who has stepped into the role of full-time principal at Bedell. So if that speaks to the culture and ability of Mr. Robertson, I'm Affirmative with that.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the
She
nomination?
shares your view.
If not, all those in favor of the nomination of Beth Lorge for interim assistant superintendent?
Aye.
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 And what,
Any opposed? Yes, sir.
my apologies, I was jumping ahead.
So that motion carries.
If I could just give two quick updates to board. Renee, could you do me a favor and just jump on the website?
Yeah.
We'll go superintendent's page first. So if you navigate to the SVSU website under departments at the top of it and drop down to superintendent's office. Just want to show this to the board. On the left, you will see all the presentations we've done so far this year. So if you have constituents or your own, hey, I want to go back and see what we were looking at in September or October, those are all listed for you there. And then on the little green square on the right, it says monthly newsletter and podcast. Could you click on that for me? Really appreciate that. So you'll see the newsletters that have gone out, and we'll also be putting the podcast on there too. The interviews. I think Katie's working on her current one, but just if folks are interested in that, they want one-stop shopping, you can find that. And then Renee, if you don't mind hopping back one more, underneath goals, we'll click there. You can see my personal goals, but also this board's goals for the current school year. So if folks need to revisit that as we do our work, all of that should be there available to you as well. Encourage board members to jump into that, or, you know, and I know that many of you all represent other boards, so point that to the direction as well. If we go, and then one other thing, if you look at the page on the bottom, and what are these are quick guides, but what'd she call them today, Renee?
Quick links.
Quick links.
Maybe.
At the bottom, there are a series of green squares. There's an Act 73 one now. So if you click on that, right now what it's populated with is on the left is the full text of the bill, a summary, just kind of resources from the state of Vermont, and we will be filling that out more. We're looking for the maps. The maps will go here for folks too. And in the right box on the right, the future, this is a survey, Nicole has pointed this out. We encourage members of the community, it's an 8 to 10 minute survey. If you'd like to weigh in and talk about, have your say as far as the future of Vermont public education, you can click that button and complete the survey for you. And then also I want to acknowledge the chair's request. There will be no public forum from the task force in Bennington or Brattleboro, but you can jump online and attend virtually. And there is a meeting tomorrow in Rutland. Katie West will be sending out that link to all families and students this evening. So if folks are listening to this and they're like, hey, that sounds great, or watching this in a recording, they can hop on and do that as well. I don't anticipate, we did have a conversation with one of the local senators. I don't anticipate additional meetings being scheduled. I think they're going to wrap that up and spend November doing most of their work as they face a December 1 deadline. So it's a missed opportunity for us. But if you really want to participate, there is a link to Rutland. They were also in Townsend meeting with folks who mostly in the Leland and Gray area of the state, but
Yep.
Those are all opportunities for you to participate. Last thing is in November, when we come back to this committee, by the time we come back to this committee, we will have presented our next monthly report to boards, and that will be on student services. Kate will be joining me with that, and we'll be talking about, we'll give a little bit of a review of what the state is saying and a little bit of a preview of the audit that Dr. Roy is working on. Don't anticipate that being fully available to the board in November, but it'll be quickly added thereafter. Any questions for me?
Thank you for creating those locations to make that easy to find.
Oh yeah, we're working on it, and love the suggestions from folks because Nicole knows this. The amount of information coming out now is truly impressive. So sifting and sorting and putting things out, be happy to do that.
Scott, are you still on? Did you have anything that you wanted to update?
I am still on. I don't have anything to update.
Okay. Just for a public acknowledgement, I did attend the Act 139 session that was held here last week and was very grateful for the amount of information that was shared about what this piece of legislation does and how it will impact what's done here locally. I think that presentation is also available on the SVSU site. But to thank Melissa for her work in putting that together. And the only other thing on the agenda then is an FYI for the budget status report. And if there is no other business. Everything,
I'll give you a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn at 6:09. We have a second?
I'll second it.
Jeff, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you,
No one's
Nicole.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks
Yeah.
to our remote participants for making it possible for us to meet.
Thanks to Glenn for speeding in to make the quorum. That was helpful.
Well coiffed.
Subjective.